The darkness pressed against my eyelids, thick and alive, as a whisper slithered up from the floorboards calling my name. Tyler, soft and urgent, like a child lost in the night. I jolted awake on the Airbnb couch, my heart pounding. The room, bathed in the sickly glow of a single lamp. The air was heavy with the scent of damp wood and something sweeter, fouler, like flowers rotting in a vase. Anna's cheap rental, a rustic cabin tucked deep in the forest, had felt wrong from the moment we arrived. But now, in the dead of night, it was a trap. Its walls breathing, waiting. The whisper came again from below, and I knew the house wanted me to find it. We'd rolled into the cabin just before dusk, Anna grinning as she waved her phone, boasting about snagging the place for half price. Rustic charm, she called it. But the sagging porch, the peeling paint, and the silence of the surrounding pines screamed neglect. Madison, always up for a party, hauled in a cooler of tequila, while Hannah, quieter, eyed the woods warily. Emily, ever the thrill-seeker, was already snapping selfies, her laughter echoing too loudly. I carried the bags, my stomach twisting, the forest stillness too deep, too deliberate. I'd heard stories, locals at the gas station muttering about cabins like this where groups checked in and never checked out, their cars left to rust. I brushed it off, blaming the long drive, but the air carried a weight, like eyes watching. From the trees, we unpacked. The cabin's interior no warmer than its shell. The floors creaked underfoot. The furniture smelled of mildew, and the windows reflected our faces like mirrors, trapping us inside. Anna blasted music, and we drank, the tequila burning my throat, the laughter growing sloppy. Madison spun Hannah. Around, Emily climbed onto a table, her hair catching the dim light. I sank into the couch, the cushions sagging, my head buzzing. This is fine, just a weekend. But the shadows in the corners seemed to pulse, and the air grew thicker, the rot sweet, scent stronger. By midnight we were drunk, sprawled across the room, and I passed out, the music fading into a hum. Emily's hand, cold as ice, shook me awake, her eyes wide, pupils blown with excitement. "Living room now," she hissed, her breath sharp. "With alcohol." I stumbled after her, my head throbbing. The cabin's silence louder than the music had been. Madison and Hannah were already there, circling a rusted metal ring jutting from the floorboards, like a bone breaking through skin. Anna knelt beside it, her fingers tracing the iron, her face lit with curiosity. "We should open it," Madison said, her voice eager, almost hungry. I hesitated, the whisper from my dream still echoing. But Emily's grin pulled me in, and I gripped the ring, its cold biting my palms. The hinges groaned as we pulled, revealing a stone staircase descending. Into darkness, the stench hit me. Damp earth, decay, and that sickening sweetness now overwhelming. My phone's flashlight caught rough steps, their edges worn, leading to a void that seemed to breathe. "We shouldn't," Hannah murmured, stepping back, her face pale. But Emily was already descending, her laughter high and brittle, the kind she used to hide fear. "Don't be a baby, hon." We followed, the air growing colder, heavier, the walls closing in like a throat swallowing us whole. The basement wasn't built. It was carved, a raw cave of boulder walls, the ceiling low, forcing us to stoop. My flashlight swept the space, revealing a child-sized table with a single chair, surrounded by toys no child should touch. Dolls with mouths sewn shut, their eyes painted over, stared blankly. A rocking horse, its mane embedded with what looked like human teeth, grinned in the shadows. Madison picked up a half-burned book, its cover etched with Moriel. She read aloud, her voice trembling. "Mommy thinks burning me will make me go away. Fire makes me angry. I'll wear someone new every night. Emily pointed to a circle of blackened candles in the corner. Their wax melted into the dirt. Let's do a seance. Are you insane? My voice cracked. The air too thick, the walls too close. Madison's eyes gleamed and Emily teased, "Don't you want to meet Moriel, Tyler?" Against my better judgment, the tequila and their dares won. We sat in a circle, the candles flickering to life, their flames weak but alive, casting shadows that danced like fingers on the walls. "We call upon Moriel," Madison intoned, her voice steady. "Come forward. Speak." Hannah fidgeted, her breath shallow, but Emily's hand gripped mine, her nails digging in. "Give us a sign." The candles flared, their light stuttering, and the air went still as if the room held its breath. "Who did that?" I asked, my voice tight, but no one answered. The whisper returned, soft at first, then louder, a child's voice layered with something ancient, hissing my name. The trapdoor above slammed shut, the sound a thunderclap in my skull. "It's stuck," I shouted, scrambling up the steps, but the door wouldn't budge. A choking noise stopped me cold. Emily was convulsing, her back arched, limbs jerking at angles that defied bone. Her eyes rolled back, white and blind, her mouth foaming. "Emily!" Madison screamed, reaching for her, but Hannah yanked her back. "Don't touch her!" Too late. Emily's head snapped around, twisting too far, her skin tearing at the corners of her mouth. Her eyes, now black, leaked dark fluid streaming upward, defying gravity. "Moriel's here," she said, her voice a chorus of tones, childlike and monstrous, filling the room like smoke. She crawled toward me, spider-like, her grin splitting wider. "I know your secrets, Tyler." She hissed Anna's affair with her professor, Madison's theft of funeral jewelry, and my shame, watching my roommate through a door crack. My stomach dropped, my face burning, but her laughter cut deeper, cold and cruel. "Stop it," I shouted, my voice breaking, but she lunged, her hands wrapping around my throat, nails digging into my skin. Her strength was impossible, her breath sour and cold. "Not Emily," she shrieked, her voice splitting into 1,000 tones. Madison tried to pull her off, but Emily threw her across the room, her body hitting the wall with a sickening thud. Hannah screamed, grabbing a porcelain doll from the table and smashing it against Emily's head. She collapsed, blood trickling from her temple, and the air lightened, the whisper fading. We dragged her up the stairs, the trapdoor opening easily, as if the house wanted us gone. Morning sun streamed through the cabin windows, harsh and unforgiving. Emily lay unconscious, her face pale but human again. We drove to the hospital, her screams raw and animalistic as she woke, vomiting black liquid that reeked of rot. The doctors called it a psychotic break, dismissing our story, but I saw it. Her eyes, just for a second, black as pitch. She's in a psychiatric ward now, silent, drawing circles of candles and a child's table over and over. I visited yesterday, her gaze empty, but when no one looked, she smiled and the whisper returned, soft and clear. "I'll wear you next, Tyler." Back home, I found a candle in my bag, its wick blackened, its wax warm to the touch. The air smells of rot some nights, and the shadows in my room move, forming a small, grinning figure. I don't sleep with the lights off anymore, but the whisper follows, and I know Moriel is waiting, patient, ready to play again. The highway stretches endlessly before me, a ribbon of black under a starless sky, my truck's headlights cutting through the dark like a feeble prayer. I'm Logan, 23 hours into a cross-country drive, my eyes burning, my hands numb on the wheel. Mom's funeral is a raw wound, her absence a weight in my chest heavier than the grief I can't afford to feel. I'm too broke for a hotel, too broken to care, pushing through on caffeine and stubbornness. The dashboard clock glows 12:17 a.m. its numbers blurring when a neon sign flickers ahead. 7-Eleven, a beacon in the void. Relief washes over me, sharp and desperate. But as I pull into the empty lot, a prickle crawls up my spine, like the night itself is watching. I kill the engine, and the silence swallows me whole. The parking lot is deserted save for a rusted Honda squatting in the corner, its stickers ranting about government conspiracies. My boots crunch on gravel, the cold biting through my jacket. As I push through the glass door, the fluorescent lights buzz like angry wasps, casting a sickly glow over the aisles. The air reeks of bleach and burnt coffee, a stench that clings to my throat. Behind the counter, a scrawny kid barely out of high school scrolls on his phone, his face blank, eyes dead. I nod, but he doesn't look up, lost in his screen's glow. I head for the coffee machine, its bitter promise my only lifeline. But the prickle from the lot follows me, growing sharper, like a warning I can't hear. I'm filling a cup, the steam curling like ghosts, when a breath grazes my neck, warm and too close. My skin erupts in goosebumps, my hand freezing on the dispenser. I turn, heart lurching, and find a man inches away, his face hidden by a black hoodie. His skin is pale, almost translucent, stretched tight over sharp bones, and his eyes, too wide, unblinking, glint like wet marbles. "You shouldn't be here right now," he whispers, his voice tight like it's being squeezed from his throat. My chest tightens, the coffee cup trembling in my hand. "What?" I choke out, but his eyes flick to the door, urgent and afraid. "They're coming," he murmurs. "Leave before it's too late." "Get out, Logan. Now." My pulse spikes, the room tilting, but when I glance at the cashier, he's still scrolling, oblivious. I turn back, but the man's gone. No footsteps, no door chime, just a trail of cold air, sharp and crisp, like a winter morning. My breath catches, my mind scrambling for answers. Was he real? Exhaustion, grief, maybe my head's playing tricks. But his eyes, those unblinking eyes, burn in my memory, a warning I can't shake. I grab a Snickers, my hands shaky, and head for the counter, desperate to pay and leave. The cashier scans it, his movements mechanical, his face still glued to his phone. I'm an aisle away when the door chimes, sharp and jarring, and two men saunter in. My stomach drops. They don't look like customers, no grab for snacks, no casual stroll. The first is built like a linebacker, denim jacket straining over massive shoulders, hands like hammers. The second is wiry, buzzed head gleaming, eyes darting like a predator's. "Empty the register," denim jacket snarls, slamming his fist into the cashier's face. The kid's phone clatters to the counter, his nose bleeding, eyes wide with terror. Buzzcut pulls a gun, its barrel glinting under the fluorescence. "Be a nice boy and you'll just get a black eye," he says, his voice cold, amused. My heart pounds, a wild thing, as I duck behind the chip display, my breath shallow. Through the shelf's gaps, I see the cashier fumbling with the register, bills rustling, his hands trembling. The beeping is deafening, each sound a nail in my chest. "Stay hidden, Logan, don't move." I crawl toward the aisle's end, 3 feet from the door, my palms slick with sweat. Freedom's close, so close. But my fingers shake, and the Snickers slips, hitting the linoleum with a soft thud. The world stops. The buzzing lights seem to hush, the air thick with menace. "Check that," Buzzcut snaps. "We ain't alone." My legs move before my mind catches up, pure animal terror propelling me from behind the display. I lunge for the door, my shoulder slamming into the glass. "Hey!" Denim jacket roars, and a shot explodes, glass shattering beside my head, the sound splitting my ears. Pain sears my left arm, a hot stinging wave like fire poured into a wound. I hit the door again, stumbling into the lot, my breath ragged. My keys. Where are they? I dig through my pocket, fingers slippery with blood, and they fall, skidding, under the truck. I drop to my knees, cursing, groping under the chassis. The door chimes behind me and I glance back. Buzzcut stands in the doorway, gun raised, his eyes locking on mine, cold and unyielding. My fingers close around the keys, slick with blood, and I scramble up, fumbling with the lock. The truck's door swings open and I dive inside, slamming it shut. Another shot cracks, shattering the back window, glass raining into the cab. I shove the key into the ignition, my hands shaking, and turn it hard. The engine sputters, then roars to life. I floor it, tires spinning, gravel flying, the truck lurching forward. In the rear view, Buzzcut stands motionless, watching me go, his gun lowered, his face a blank mask. I drive blind, panic clawing at my chest, the highway blurring through tears. 10 miles later, I pull over, my arm throbbing, my fingers numb. Blood soaks my sleeve, a dark stain spreading, but I'm alive. Barely. 3 days in the hospital pass. In a haze, the sterile smell of antiseptic a constant companion. Cops visit on the second day, their notebooks open, their faces skeptical. I tell them everything. The robbery, the shots, the man in the hoodie. What about him? I press, my voice hoarse. The guy who warned me. The officer pauses, his pen hovering. What hoodie guy, Logan? Just you, the cashier, and the 2 perps on the footage. My stomach twists. Check the cameras, I snap. He was there. They do, but every frame shows the same. Me grabbing coffee, ducking, running. No hoodie, no warning, just a ghost my mind conjured. Or was he? At night I see his eyes, wide and unblinking, his whisper looping. They're coming. The cops never caught the robbers, their faces lost in grainy footage. But the man in the hoodie, he's still out there, or maybe he never was. Either way, I don't stop at 7-Elevens anymore. The neon's too bright, the silence too loud, and somewhere, those eyes are waiting. The smell hit me first, like pennies soaked in bleach, a warning I couldn't place. I sat in history class, my notebook open to a page I hadn't written on, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead like a swarm of angry insects. Westlake High had been on edge for weeks, ever since 3 students vanished. Gone without a trace, their lockers still stuffed with books, their names whispered in hallways like ghosts. The police patrolled our campus, teachers watched us too closely, and lockdown drills became twice-weekly rituals. I was Hannah, a junior who kept my head down. But even I felt the weight of those empty desks. Our regular history teacher, Mrs. Larson, was out sick, and in her place stood Mr. Rowan, the substitute whose presence shifted the air in room 207. His smile was too wide, his eyes too sharp, and that smell clung to him, a metallic tang that made my stomach twist. The classroom was a familiar cage. Desks scratched with initials, a whiteboard streaked with faint markers, windows showing the gray parking lot where police cars now lingered. Mr. Rowan wrote his name in precise letters, his sleeve riding up to reveal a dark stain on his cuff, like he'd scrubbed something in haste. I watched him, my pen idle, my instincts prickling. He moved differently, not like a teacher, but like someone playing a part. His gestures too deliberate, his voice too smooth. "Let's dive into the Civil War," he said, but his eyes scanned us, lingering too long, as if counting heads or picking targets. I remembered the news reports. Students last seen near the abandoned mall, rumors of a van circling our neighborhoods. My uncle, a cop, had taught me to notice details, and Mr. Rowan was a walking red flag. Class dragged on, my notes sparse, my mind elsewhere. I thought of Mia, one of the missing, her laugh echoing in the cafeteria, her backpack still in the lost and found. The bell was minutes away when the intercom crackled, a shrill wail cutting through the room. Attention, this is a lockdown. This is not a drill. Proceed to designated safe areas immediately. My heart lurched, a cold wave washing over me. This wasn't the usual bored tone of monthly drills. This was urgent, real. My classmates froze, their faces pale, eyes wide. Mr. Rowan's voice cut through the panic, unnervingly calm. "Under your desks," he said, his smile never faltering. I slid to the floor, my knees scraping the linoleum, my backpack a frail shield against whatever was coming. The room went silent save for the hum of the lights and our shallow breaths. I peeked from under my desk, seeing Mr. Rowan at the front, not checking the door or dimming the lights as protocol demanded. Instead, he pulled the blinds down, his movements slow, deliberate, blocking the view of the police cars I'd glimpsed outside. My uncle's voice echoed in my mind. Cops don't crouch behind cars for drills. Something was wrong. Terribly wrong. Mr. Rowan's face changed, a tightening around his eyes, a twitch at his mouth like a mask slipping. I reached for my phone, my fingers trembling, but his hand clamped my wrist, his grip crushing, nothing like a teacher's warning touch. "No phones, Hannah," he whispered, his breath sour, his eyes glinting with something predatory. "I know you're a good girl." My blood ran cold, my pulse roaring in my ears. He knew my name without roll call, his voice a threat wrapped in silk. His other hand emerged from his pocket, holding a hunting knife, its serrated blade catching. The light, at least 6 inches of cold steel meant for gutting prey. My classmates gasped, a soft whimper rising from someone behind me. "Everybody's phones," he said, his tone flat, collecting them in a metal trash can, the clatter echoing like a death knell. "You know what's funny?" he continued, his voice casual, almost amused. "How easy it is to walk in with a briefcase and a smile. No one checks. You say you're from the district and they hand you a room full of kids." His words landed like stones, each one sinking my hope deeper into dread. Tyler across the room caught my eye, his jaw set, a reckless glint in his gaze. I'd seen that look before, when he jumped off Miller's cliff last summer, breaking his arm but laughing through the pain. I shook my head, a silent plea, but Mr. Rowan whirled toward a whimper, his nostrils flaring. "Shut up," he snapped, his voice shedding all pretense, raw and vicious. "Or I'll give them something to find besides the janitor." My heart stopped. Mr. Keller, the janitor, had been missing since Monday, his absence a quiet rumor, until now. A knock at the door made us flinch, Miss Riley's panicked voice calling, "Mr. Rowan?" He grabbed me, pulling me up, the knife pressing against my throat, its edge cold and sharp. "Make a sound," he whispered, his eyes sweeping. The room, and I start with her. Through the door's small window, I saw Miss Riley's silhouette, her voice trembling. "They're evacuating the East Wing. Stay put until officers clear your hallway." She left, unaware of the nightmare inside. My chair shifted, a faint creak, and Mr. Rowan's head snapped toward me. His pupils dilated, his voice eerily childlike. "You moved," he said, yanking my hair, the knife grazing my jaw, a warm trickle of blood running down my neck. "No one moves during lockdown." He shoved me against the wall, my classmates trembling, their eyes wide with terror. "You're coming with me," he whispered, his breath hot and rancid, his grip tightening. Suddenly, Tyler launched from his desk, swinging a metal chair leg he'd twisted free, connecting with Mr. Rowan's knee with a sickening crunch. Mr. Rowan howled, slashing wildly, the blade catching Tyler's arm, blood blooming crimson. The distraction was enough. I broke free, my elbow slamming into his ribs, and lunged for the classroom phone, my fingers fumbling for the emergency button. "Room 207, I shouted into the receiver, my voice breaking. "He's got a weapon. He's not a teacher." Mr. Rowan's face contorted, his knife raised, his limp slowing him. "I've gotten people for less," he snarled, lunging. But Tyler tackled him, their bodies crashing into desks, a chaos of limbs and fury. Other students joined, throwing books, chairs, anything to slow him down, their fear turning to defiance. The Decker burst open, 2 officers rushing in, their weapons raised, their shouts blurring in my adrenaline-soaked mind. They pinned Mr. Rowan, cuffing him as he thrashed, his knife clattering to the floor. As they dragged him past me, his face inches from mine, he smiled, a grotesque promise carved in flesh. "You disappoint me, Hannah," he whispered, his voice soft but venomous. "I know where you sit, what you smell like when you're afraid." The officers shoved him forward, but he mouthed, "Next time," his eyes burning into mine, a threat that lingered like poison. The aftermath was a blur. Paramedics bandaging Tyler's arm, counselors herding us to the gym, parents sobbing as they embraced their kids. The police revealed the truth. Mr. Rowan was Samuel Catch, wanted in 3 states for crimes against children and teens. He'd escaped a psychiatric ward days earlier, leaving 3 orderlies dead, their throats slit like Mr. Keller's, whose body was found behind the boiler in the East Wing. The real substitute was in his car's trunk, 3 miles away, another, victim of Catch's calculated cruelty. I sat on the curb, a shock blanket around my shoulders, my hands still trembling. The knife's cold edge, a memory burned into my skin. I transferred schools, unable to walk those halls again. But the fear followed me. I check every substitute's cuffs, scan their hands for stains, my uncle's lessons now a lifeline. Sometimes at night, I smell that metallic tang, feel the knife's pressure against my throat, hear Catch's whisper promising a next time. He's locked away, but his eyes haunt my dreams, watching from the shadows of every classroom I enter. Room 207 was supposed to be safe, a place to learn. But it became a battlefield, and I'll never trust a stranger's smile again. The waves crashed against the shore, their rhythm steady. But beneath them, a faint cry wove through the salt air, sharp and human, pulling me toward the dunes. I stood frozen on the empty beach, the summer sun searing my shoulders, the sand burning beneath my bare feet. Zach's nervous laugh trailed behind me, his voice urging me to turn back. But the cry came again, desperate, from a crumbling shack hidden in the shadows of the cypresses. It wasn't just curiosity. It was a hook sinking deep, dragging me into a darkness that smelled of rot and secrets, whispering that I'd never leave. Zach and I had always been opposites. He was cautious, the one who checked tide schedules, and slathered on sunscreen, while I chased every thrill, every unknown. At 15, summer was our kingdom, and this secluded beach an hour from town was our latest conquest. The sand stretched endless, the waves a restless pulse, the air thick with salt and seaweed. We'd spent the morning swimming, racing through the surf, but now, as the sun climbed high, the beach felt different. Too quiet, too still, like it was watching us. I'd overheard kids at the pier talking about a shack here, a place where people went in but didn't come out, their stories fading like footprints in the tide. I laughed it off, but my skin prickled as we wandered closer to the dunes. Zach squinted, shielding his eyes. "That's just some old storage," he said, spotting the shack first, its weathered boards sagging, half buried in sand. I grinned, already moving, the cry from my imagination, or was it, spurring me on. The air grew heavier as we approached, the scent of rotting seaweed mixing with something sour, like meat left in the sun. The shack loomed, its roof caved in, its door hanging by a single hinge. Zach hesitated, his hand gripping my arm, but I shook him off, my pulse racing with the thrill of the unknown. A man sat in a frayed beach chair outside, his skin burned to leather, cracked and peeling, his hair matted with salt, his eyes bloodshot, and too wide, locked on us, his smile stretching unnaturally, revealing yellowed teeth. "Hot day, huh, boys?" His voice scraped like sandpaper, rough and dry. I nodded, casual, but my stomach twisted. "Nice spot you got," I said, forcing a grin. His smile widened and he gestured to a smaller hut behind the shack, barely visible in the shadows. "Got something better inside. You boys like girls?" Zach's fingers dug into my arm, his breath shallow. But the man's gaze held me, hypnotic. "Hungry. Rare footage," he added, licking his lips. "Stuff you won't find anywhere. Walk away. Now." The thought screamed in my head, but my feet moved forward, drawn by a need I couldn't name. Zach followed, his reluctance a weight at my side. The hut's interior hit like a punch, dark, humid, the air thick with the stench of rot, like breathing through a moldy cloth. Faded posters lined the walls, girls in bikinis, but their eyes were wrong. Vacant, terrified, staring through us. The man gestured to two metal chairs facing a yellowed projector screen, his grin never faltering. "Make yourselves comfortable." My heart hammered, but pride kept me rooted. And I sat, Zach sinking beside me, his breath ragged. The man flicked on an ancient VCR, and grainy footage flickered to life. It started innocently. Young women laughing on a beach, splashing in waves, their voices muffled but alive. The camera lingered too long, zooming in on unaware faces, their smiles fading as it tracked them. Then the scene cut, jarring and abrupt, to a dark room. The same women, now blindfolded, gagged, their makeup streaked with tears, writhed against ropes. My throat closed, bile rising, the air too thick to breathe. "Turn it off," I said, standing, my voice shaking. The man chuckled, his eyes gleaming. "We're just getting to the good part." He reached for a shelf, picking up a blood-stained hair scrunchie, inhaling it with a sigh. "You know what makes this special? I was the cameraman, director, sometimes. The actor." The screen shifted to a room lined with plastic sheets. A girl dragged in, thrashing, her screams muted but piercing. Zach bolted, his chair scraping, and I was right behind him, my legs trembling. The man moved faster, blocking the door. His face no longer friendly but starved, his eyes black with intent. "Where you running? You haven't seen my collection." He flicked open a fishing knife, its blade glinting, and scraped it across a table, the sound grating my nerves. "They come here for adventure, but scream when I make them stars." He lunged, grabbing my collar, the knife pressing against my throat, his breath reeking of salt and decay. "Fight. You have to fight." I kicked his chest, breaking free, and Zach grabbed a metal pole from a pile of junk, swinging it with desperate force. It cracked against the man's wrist, the knife clattering to the floor. We shoved past him, sprinting into the shack, searching for another exit. The man rose, blood dripping from his hand, his face twisted with rage. "You're part of the collection now," he roared, charging after us. I spotted a rusted flare gun on a shelf, my hands shaking as I grabbed it, aimed, and pulled the trigger. The flare struck his shoulder, igniting his shirt in a burst of orange. He screamed, stumbling into wooden crates, knocking over a lit candle. Flames roared to life, licking the walls, the air choking with smoke. We burst through the door, coughing. The heat searing our backs as we ran. The shack's glow fading behind us. My lungs burned. My legs gave out and we collapsed on the beach, gasping. The waves a steady roar in the distance. A lifeguard found us, his radio crackling as he called for help. We stammered about the man, the videos, the fire, our voices raw, with panic. He led us back to the shack, but my heart sank as we approached. The structure stood intact. No smoke, no flames, its boards weathered but untouched. Inside, the hut was empty. No projector, no posters, no blood-stained floor, just bare shelves thick with dust. The lifeguard's eyes narrowed. Boys looking. For trouble? Zach and I exchanged a horrified glance, my pulse racing. We were just in there, I insisted, but his skepticism silenced us. Zach touched my shoulder, his voice low. Maybe the heat got to us. We left, the beach stretching endless behind us, the waves erasing our footprints. But the man's grin haunted me, his voice echoing in my dreams. You're part of the collection. Weeks later at home, I found a scrap of poster in my backpack, a girl's terrified eyes staring through faded ink, her mouth sewn shut. The air grew cold, the scent of rot faint but unmistakable. I burned it, but some nights, I hear waves crashing outside my window, though I live miles from the coast, and a shadow moves in the corner, smiling, waiting for me to step back into the shack's secret. The elevator hums, a soft vibration under my feet as it climbs to the 37th floor. It's my first day at the new job, a fresh start in a city that doesn't know my name. I'm Ethan, tie knotted too tight, briefcase heavy with ambition, but a knot twists in my gut, a premonition I can't shake. The doors slide open and the office sprawls before me, all glass and steel, sunlight glinting off polished desks. Then I see her sitting at reception, her blood-red nails clicking against the keyboard like a predator's claws. Vanessa, my ex. Her eyes lock on mine, and her lips curl into that slow, devious smirk. The same one she flashed the night I ended, things when she'd held a kitchen knife and whispered, "One of us will bleed." My heart stumbles, the office tilting like a dream gone wrong, and I'm trapped in her gaze, the past a noose tightening around my neck. The air feels wrong, too sharp, like it's laced with something I can't name. "What are you doing here?" I choke out, my voice barely above a whisper. Vanessa tilts her head, playful, her giggle a blade against my nerves. "I work here, silly, isn't it wild?" she says, her tone light but her eyes are cold, glinting with intent. I force my legs to move, brushing past her, her perfume, sickly sweet like rotting flowers, clinging to me. My desk waits, a stack of presentations already piled high. A note from Greg, my boss, scrawled in sharp pen. $1 million accounts due by EOD. Don't screw up. I throw myself into the work, spreadsheets blurring, the office's hum a steady anchor. For a few hours, I forget her, her smirk, her nails, but the knot in my gut doesn't loosen, a warning I can't ignore. By 11 a.m., I step away for a tea break, the break room's fluorescent lights buzzing like trapped flies. 10 minutes, tops, then back to my desk. But when I return, my screen is a mess. Files corrupted, data scrambled like someone poured digital acid over my work. I stare, my pulse spiking, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. Reboot, reopen, recover. Nothing works. By noon, the phones are screaming, clients furious, their voices a cacophony through my headset. Greg's voice cuts through, tight with my office now. I stumble to his corner office, the glass walls reflecting my pale face. Every woman in the department got explicit messages from your email, Reynolds, he says, sliding printouts across his desk. The words vile. Accusing. I didn't write these, I stammer, my throat dry. It's Vanessa, my ex. Greg's eyes narrow, his voice a whip. You've been here 6 hours and caused nothing but chaos. Fix it before you leave tonight or you're done. As I leave, a giggle drifts from the reception desk, Vanessa's shadow looming in my peripheral vision. I slump at my desk, the office emptying as the day fades, the city's skyline glittering through the windows. By 7 p.m., I'm alone. The silence thick, every keyboard click a gunshot in the quiet. I'm digging through email settings, trying to trace the sabotage, when the lights flicker, a brief stutter that plunges the floor into darkness. Not just my desk. The entire office, even the emergency exit signs, blinks out like dying stars. My breath catches, my heart pounding in my teeth. A dim glow flickers in the corner, a flashlight not mine. And on the glass wall, wet red letters smear into view. You promise you love me, baby. Vanessa's old question, now a threat carved in blood. Run, Ethan, now. I spin, grabbing my bag, bolting for the elevators. They're dead, the buttons unlit, mocking me. The stairwell door, locked, the handle cold and unyielding. Every exit is sealed, a trap snapping shut. Her voice floats from the dark, sing-song and soft. Remember our first night, Ethan? You said forever. My skin crawls, her words a violation, pulling me back to nights I tried to forget. Her calls ignored, her shadow outside my apartment. I duck behind a cubicle, my breath shallow, my hand closing around a stapler, its weight a feeble comfort. You know what's funny? She says, closer now, her flashlight's beam sweeping the floor. I got you this job. Saw your resume, told the director you were brilliant. I picked this office for us. My stomach twists, her words a poison, seeping into me. She'd planned this, every step, her obsession a web I didn't see. I crawl, elbows burning, the carpet rough against my palms, away from her voice. You think blocking my number stopped me? She says, her beam grazing my shoe. I watched you for 3 years, Ethan. Your LinkedIn, your posts, your sweet. Mom still likes my comments. I reach the break room, grabbing a metal thermos, its heft a lifeline. Her laugh echoes, brittle and high. The same sound that haunted my old apartment when she'd show up uninvited. You're crazy, I whisper, my voice shaking. No, she snaps, her voice venomous. Crazy was waiting outside your building 6 days straight. This is love. The beam finds me, pinning me like prey. She stands in the doorway. Box. Cutter in one hand, flashlight in the other. Her blood-red lips parted in a sinful grin. I've planned this for months, she whispers, stepping closer. Do you know how hard it is to hack a building's security? The things we do for love. I hurl the stapler at her face, its metal glinting, and barrel past, slamming her to the wall. She laughs, giddy like she's proud of me, her nails grazing my arm. I sprint to the conference room, the fire escape just beyond the glass, but it won't budge. I grab a chair, smashing it against the window, again and again, until the glass explodes, cold air rushing in. City lights blur through my stinging eyes. The 37th floor, a dizzying drop. Her footsteps hasten, her voice a hiss. Where you going? Ethan? She's at the broken window, blood dripping from her temple, her tongue flicking out to taste it. Jump, you die, stay, we talk. My legs swing out, the edge biting into my thighs. This isn't talking. I spit. You're insane. You made me insane. She shrieks, lunging, her box cutter flashing. I don't choose to jump, my body does. The gap to the fire escape is wider than I thought, the air a scream in my ears. I hit the steel grating hard, pain exploding in my leg, something tearing. but I'm alive. My vision swims, darkness closing in, and I pass out. The city's hum a distant lullaby. I wake in a hospital, bandages tight, pain a dull throb. Vanessa's locked up, the cops say. Breaking, hacking, assault, attempted murder, charges stacking. High. Security heard the crash, caught her mid-act. Greg apologized, begging me not to sue, promising to cover hospital bills. But I quit anyway. The office, that glass cage, is a tomb I'll never enter again. At night I see her eyes, her smirk, her voice whispering, "Forever." I check my locks, my phone, knowing she's gone but feeling her watch, a shadow that won't fade. The curtain fell, and with it my world, as Mr. Gaines's lifeless eyes stared into mine. I stood frozen on the stage, the prom's glittering lights dimming under the weight of screams, my sequined dress clinging to my skin like a second layer of fear. The gymnasium, alive moments ago with laughter and music, was now a chaos of running feet and horrified gasps. Mr. Gaines, our janitor, hung from the metal ropes above, his neck stretched impossibly long, his face a grotesque purple-black, mask, blood oozing from where the rope bit into his flesh. I'd checked the stage 20 minutes earlier. Its shadows empty, its silence unbroken. How had he ended up here? A silent accusation in the heart of our celebration. I was Jess, a senior who'd planned this night for weeks. And now it was. A nightmare. The air in the gym was thick, scented with sweat and cheap perfume. The floor slick with spilled punch. I'd been adjusting the spotlight when Mr. Levy, our drama teacher, tapped his watch, signaling the big reveal. 12 seconds early, I'd pulled the curtain, expecting cheers for the decorations we'd slaved over. Instead, the crowd erupted, in terror, their faces a blur of shock as they fled, pushing and shoving, their dreams of prom shattered. Principal Weston's voice boomed, "Nobody moves!" But it was futile, the panic unstoppable. Mr. Levy grabbed my arm, his grip too tight, his voice sharp. "When did you last check the stage?" 20 minutes ago, I stammered, bile rising in my throat. "It was empty, I swear." He nodded, his eyes darting away, and left me standing there, the rope creaking above, Mr. Gaines's body swaying, like a grotesque pendulum. I stumbled off the stage, my heels unsteady, my heart pounding a rhythm of guilt and fear. The police arrived, their flashlights sweeping the gym, their questions relentless. I told them about the empty stage, my voice shaking, but I didn't mention the argument I'd overheard 2 days earlier in the auditorium. Mr. Gaines and Mr. Levy, voices low but heated, words like, "You're sticking your nose where it doesn't belong," and "kids deserve to know." I'd dismissed it then. A teacher spat, but now it gnawed at me, a secret I wasn't ready to share. That night, I lay awake. The image of Mr. Gaines's bulging eyes burned into my mind, his silhouette, watching from my bedroom ceiling, urging me to speak. I remembered his kindness, mopping the halls with a quiet smile, always slipping me a candy bar when I stayed late for drama club. He didn't deserve this. By morning, I couldn't ignore the pull to dig deeper. I scrolled through Mr. Gaines's anonymous safety account, a digital diary of school hazards, broken lights, slippery floors, petty complaints. Buried in the posts was a photo, blurry but damning. A man in a blue and gold tie pressing a girl against the costume rack, her face hidden, his posture predatory. I knew that tie. Mr. Levy wore it every day, a badge of his drama club pride. My hands trembled as I printed the photo, my breath shallow, the room's silence pressing against me. Mr. Gaines had seen something he shouldn't have, and it cost him his life. I slipped the photo into Principal Weston's mailbox. My heart racing, convinced I'd done right, that justice would follow. But the house felt different now, its shadows deeper, its creaks louder, as if it knew I'd stirred something dangerous. That night the tapping began, soft but insistent at my window. I froze, my blanket clutched tight, my pulse a drumbeat in my ears. The street was empty, but a red envelope lay on the sill, its edges curling in the damp air. Inside, a note in jagged handwriting. "Thanks for your performance." My phone buzzed, a notification from our drama club's YouTube channel. A video titled the same as the note. The footage was grainy, nightmarish, showing Mr. Gaines dragged across the stage, his head lolling, a dark smear trailing behind. His fingers twitched, a sickening sign he was still alive when filmed. The screen went black, then zoomed in on a petite figure wearing our drama club's tragedy mask. My breath caught, my hands shaking as I recognized the silhouette. Eliza, my best friend since sophomore year, her posture unmistakable despite the mask. The realization hit like a physical blow, stealing my air. Eliza, who'd stayed late with me painting sets, who'd laughed over milkshakes, who'd defended Mr. Levy when rumors swirled. I called her, my fingers fumbling, my voice barely steady. She answered on the first ring, her tone calm, almost expectant. "It was you," I choked out, tears burning my eyes. She sighed, a sound too casual for the horror. "Took you long enough," she said, her voice steady, chilling. Gaines was going to ruin my Levi. How could I let that happen? I love him. Jess, he makes me feel seen. Her words were a knife twisting in my chest, her love for Mr. Levy a grotesque distortion of the friend I'd known. She described dragging Gaines, her voice clinical, as if recounting a school project, each detail a fresh wound. I gripped the phone, my knuckles white, my room's shadows closing in. "I'm calling the police," I said, my voice trembling. "I have the photo of you and Levi." Eliza laughed, a sound that crawled under my skin. "Who would they catch, Jess? Levi's gone. I'm leaving too. Check your mailbox. I left you something to remember me." I crept outside, my flashlight beam shaking, my heart threatening to burst. The mailbox held a USB drive, a Polaroid of my grandparents' house, and a script titled Act 2, The Hero Falls. Eliza's voice came through the phone, soft and venomous. "I know where they all live," she said, her words a chain around my throat. "Forget me and Levi. Stay away." The call ended, the silence deafening. I ran back inside, locking the for my breath ragged. The street was empty, but a shadow moved under the oak tree across from my house. A white mask catching the moonlight before vanishing. I haven't slept since. The USB drive unopened, its contents a threat I can't face. Eliza and Levi are gone, their absence a void filled with fear. I can't go to the police, not with my family at risk, their faces in that Polaroid a constant reminder of her reach. The prom was supposed to be my triumph, a night of glitter and dreams, but it became a stage for betrayal. And I'm still playing my part, silent and afraid, waiting for the curtain to fall again. The mirror in Lily's room gleamed faintly in the moonlight, but as I stood frozen in the doorway, a shadow moved within it. Eliza, her face pale, her lips parted in a haunting lullaby that wasn't hers. I blinked, my heart lurching, and she was gone, leaving only the hum of the night and the scent of sour milk clinging to the air. 2 weeks of sleepless nights had blurred the edges of my world, but this wasn't a dream. Lily's cries echoed again, sharp and relentless, and I knew Eliza, our savior, was no angel. Her song lingered, a blade in the dark, promising to steal my daughter from me. Nate and I were drowning in our new life, First-time parents in a strange town, far from family, with no one to lean on. Lily, our infant daughter, screamed through the night, her wails a constant ache in our skulls. The house, a cramped rental with peeling wallpaper and creaky floors, reeked of old formula and desperation. I hadn't eaten a hot meal in days, my eyes sunken, my hands trembling from exhaustion. Nate tried to help, but his job left him drained, and we snapped at each other, our love fraying under the weight of sleeplessness. Then, like a miracle, a flyer appeared on our doorstep. Experienced babysitter, CPR certified. Call Eliza. It felt like fate, a lifeline in our storm. Eliza arrived the next day, her presence a balm to our chaos. She was polished, her dark hair sleek, her clothes crisp, her smile soft but oddly vacant like a doll's. Her voice was silky, calming, and when she took Lily from my arms, the crying stopped, as if Eliza had flipped a switch. I nearly wept, retreating to the shower, the hot water washing away weeks of strain. That first night with Eliza watching Lily, I slept 4 hours straight, a luxury that felt like rebirth. Nate smiled for the first time in weeks, his eyes bright with hope. "She's perfect," he said. And I nodded, ignoring the faint unease, curling in my gut. But perfection cracked quickly. Eliza's habits grew strange, her presence too constant, too knowing. She arrived early, unannounced, her smile unwavering as she said, "I felt you needed me." Lily's toys began appearing in odd places, arranged in precise circles facing the windows, their plastic eyes staring outward. I found a teddy bear balanced on the sill, its head tilted as if watching the street. "Just a game," Eliza said. When I asked, her gaze sliding away, her fingers lingering on Lily's crib. At night, the baby monitor crackled to life, even when unplugged, playing lullabies I didn't recognize. Old, minor key melodies that made Lily whimper, her tiny hands clutching the air. I confronted Eliza once, my voice sharp. "What was that song you sang?" She smiled, her eyes glinting. "Something special for Lily." The words were innocent, but her expression wasn't. A mask hiding something colder. I brushed it off, blaming exhaustion, but the unease grew, a seed sprouting. In my chest, Nate dismissed me, his voice gentle but firm. "She's amazing with Lily. You're just tired." I wanted to believe him, but the house felt different with Eliza in it. Its walls closer, its shadows deeper, the air thick with the scent of sour milk and something earthier, like damp soil. One morning I faked a fever, staying home to watch. From behind the nursery door, I heard Eliza whispering to Lily, her voice low, in a tongue I didn't understand, guttural and ancient. Then, in English, soft and chilling, "They never wanted you, but I do." My blood froze, my breath shallow, the words a knife in my heart. That night, I reverse-searched Eliza's number. Nothing. No social media, no trace. The references on her flyer led to deadlines, their silence deafening. I should have fired her, but I needed proof, something to convince Nate. I ordered a nanny cam, hiding it in Lily's mobile, its lens trained on the crib. The footage was a nightmare. At 3:04 a.m., Eliza stood in the nursery, cradling Lily before the mirror, her eyes locked on her reflection. "She's nearly ready," she murmured, her voice flat. "We just need to remove the mother." My stomach churned, my hands shaking as I rewatched, the words searing into me. I showed Nate, his face paling, his denial crumbling. We waited for Eliza the next morning, my pulse racing, the house a trap holding its breath. She arrived smiling, her bag slung over her shoulder, her steps light, as if nothing was wrong. "Who are you?" I demanded, my voice cracking. "What do you want with my daughter?" Her smile didn't falter, her eyes cold, unblinking. "You don't remember me, do you? I was in the maternity ward when Lily was born. She was meant for me, but they gave her to you. I'm here to take her back." The room shrank, the air too thick to breathe. She stepped toward Lily's crib, her hand outstretched, but Nate lunged, pinning her arms. I grabbed a lamp cord, tying her to a chair, her calmness unnerving, her gaze never leaving Lily. "You'll see," she said, her voice soft. "She's mine." The police arrived, their lights flashing through the windows, their voices sharp as they cuffed Eliza. She didn't resist, humming that lullaby, its notes curling through the air like smoke. Her fingerprints told the rest. Eliza Montgomery, a former NICU nurse, had lost her own daughter years ago in a fire at a foster home. Her mind shattered. She'd targeted new mothers, leaving flyers, offering to babysit. 3 infants had vanished before Lily, their families broken, their fates unknown. We were nearly the 4th. The officers took her away, but her song lingered. A stain on the house, on us. We moved soon after, unable to sleep in those walls. But the lullaby followed, faint at first, then louder, echoing in my dreams. One night, unpacking in our new apartment, I found a tiny rattle in Lily's crib, its handle etched with Eliza's initials, though I'd burned her things. The air grew cold, the scent of sour milk returning, and Lily's giggle filled the room, her eyes fixed on the mirror. I unplugged the monitor, covered the glass, but sometimes in the dark, I hear that melody, and I see her reflection, not mine, not Lily's, but Eliza's, smiling, waiting to sing my daughter away. The fluorescent lights of Lux's sales floor buzz softly, their glow harsh against the polished racks of designer clothes. It's my first day, and I'm Alex, a new hire clutching a clipboard, my palms sweaty under Grayson's bored gaze. He's the manager, his eyes shadowed, his voice flat as he hands me my assignment. "Storage room duty," he says, not looking at me, his fingers tapping the counter like he's counting down to something. "Nobody lasts long down there. Those mannequins, they freak people out." I force a laugh, brushing off his words, but a chill pricks my spine, a warning I can't place. He leads me to a heavy steel door at the back, its paint chipped, its handle cold. As it swings open, darkness spills out, and the air shifts, heavy with dust and something sour, like forgotten things left to rot. I step inside, and the door slams shut, the sound echoing like a coffin lid. The storage room is a labyrinth, its ceiling low, its walls lined with endless shelves stretching into shadow. Fluorescent bulbs flicker overhead, casting jagged pools of light that don't reach the corners. Mannequins are everywhere, standing in rows, hanging from hooks, their limbs tangled in bins like discarded toys. Their faces, eerily human, stare, blankly, their glass eyes catching the light in ways that make my skin crawl. I grip the clipboard, Grayson's instructions scrawled in hasty pen. Sort by gender, then size. Finish before dark. Ignore weird noises. Old building. I start with the male mannequins, their plastic bodies cold under my hands, their weight heavier than I expect. The air is thick, the dust tickling my throat, and every movement stirs a faint rustle, like whispers from the shelves. "Focus, Alex. It's just a job." For the first hour, I work methodically, dragging mannequins to their sections, my arms aching, my breath uneven. The store's playlist hums faintly through the walls, a pop song looping, its cheer mocking the silence here. But the silence isn't empty. It hums, a low vibration that grows with each passing minute, like a pulse beneath the floor. I pause, wiping sweat from my brow, and notice a male mannequin at the aisle's end, its head tilted slightly, its glass eyes fixed on me. My heart stumbles. I'd left it in the men's section, rows away, its arms pinned to a shelf. Yet here it stands. Its posture wrong, almost curious, like it moved when I wasn't looking. "You're imagining things," I mutter, my voice thin, but it echoes, swallowed by the dark. I grab the mannequin, its surface slick, and haul it back, avoiding its gaze. Those eyes, they're different now, deeper, like pools reflecting something. I can't see. My pulse quickens, a drumbeat I can't silence as I shove it into place. By afternoon, the unease grows, a weight pressing against my chest. I find more mannequins out of place. A female one with a cracked face by the freight elevator, its smile jagged. A child-sized one perched on a shelf too high to reach without a ladder. Each discovery tightens the knot in my gut, my hands trembling as I drag them back. The playlist cuts out, the silence rushing in, thick and oppressive, broken only by a faint tapping, like fingers on metal deep in the room. I freeze, my breath catching. "Hello?" I call, my voice cracking. But the echo mocks me unanswered. The tapping persists, rhythmic, deliberate, pulling me toward the back aisle. I grip my phone, its flashlight a weak shield, and weave through the shelves, the mannequins' faces looming, their eyes glinting like predators in the flicker. The air grows colder, the sour smell sharper, like decay seeping from the walls. I reach the source, a rusted pipe, dripping water, its rhythm matching the taps. Relief flickers, but it's fleeting. Behind me, a shadow shifts, a mannequin's silhouette twisting in the light. I spin, my phone's beam catching its face, its mouth curved now, a smile it didn't have before. My stomach lurches and I stumble back, my shoulder brushing another, its cold fingers grazing my neck. "Get out, Alex. Now!" I bolt for the stairs, my breath ragged but stop short. The mannequins, dozens now, line my path, their bodies posed. In a silent gauntlet, their eyes locked on me. I dial Grayson, my fingers clumsy, the call ringing endlessly. "Mr. Grayson, someone's down here," I gasp when he answers, his voice tense. "Nobody's got access but you, Alex," he says, cutting me off. "They're where they've always been, it's the light." His words ring hollow, his tone too knowing, like he's hiding something. I hang up, my heart pounding, as the lights dim, the room sinking into twilight. Closing time, and I'm not done. The mannequin's gaze is heavier, their silence a threat. Then the lights die, plunging the room into absolute darkness. My phone's flashlight sputters, its beam weak, catching a mannequin inches from me, its glass eyes gleaming, its head tilted as if listening. I swing the light and more appear, a circle of them, their bodies unnaturally still, their faces accusatory. "This isn't funny," I shout, my voice breaking, but the silence swallows it. The freight elevator is dead, its buttons unlit. The stairs blocked by a wall of mannequins shoulder to shoulder, their eyes reflecting my light like mirrors. They move when you're not looking. The realization hits like a physical blow, my breath hitching. Every blink, every glance away, they creep closer, their plastic limbs silent, their intent unknown. My phone's battery flashes, 10% left. I back against a concrete pillar, sweeping my light, trying to watch them all, an impossible task. "What do you want?" I whisper, my voice trembling. The light flickers, dimming, and in that split second the closest mannequin twitches, its head angling toward the corner. My beam follows, landing on a human shape. Grayson, his eyes glassy, reflective, like marbles in flesh. "I'm sorry." "Alex," he says, stepping forward, his voice hollow. "They need someone new, they always do." My blood chills. "What are you talking about?" I choke out. He laughs, a sound like breaking glass. 20 years watching them and they chose you. Our deal, my freedom for you. Run, Alex, don't stop. My phone dies, darkness swallowing me. Movement surrounds me, the soft scrape of plastic limbs, the whisper of hands reaching. Don't. Fight it, Grayson says, his voice drifting. It doesn't hurt. You become like them, silent, watching, waiting. Cold fingers brush my cheek, gentle, exploring. And I scream, bolting blindly. I crash into shelves, mannequin parts raining. Down, their limbs tangling my feet. My hands find a door, not the stairs, but the emergency exit to the alley. I slam against it again and again until the lock gives, night air rushing in. I tumble out, gasping. The alley's damp concrete a lifeline. I run, my legs burning, until the store's neon sign fades, its glow a distant threat. I never went back, my paycheck forgotten, my life reshaped. But the mannequins follow me. Their faces in every shop window, their eyes tracking my steps. Sometimes I see Grayson's face among them, frozen in plastic, his gaze accusing. They're patient, those silent watchers, waiting for me to return. I avoid stores now, their lights too bright, their shadows too deep. But I still need a job, and somewhere they know it. Their glass eyes unblinking, their silence a promise. The fluorescent lights buzzed like a warning, but I didn't listen, not until the smell of death walked through the door. I leaned against the counter of the 7-Eleven, my elbows sinking into the worn wood. The hum of the fridges a dull lullaby in the empty store. It was 1 a.m., my third night shift in a row, the kind of job you take when rent is due and dreams are too expensive. The neon sign outside flickered, casting a sickly green glow over the parking lot, where a lone car sat, its rust eating away, at the edges like a disease. I was alone, my eyes heavy, my apron stained with coffee I'd spilled hours ago. The world outside was asleep, but here, time dragged. Each minute a weight I carried for the paycheck that barely kept me afloat. The store was a time capsule of neglect. Shelves stocked with chips and candy. A floor sticky with years of spilled. Soda, the air thick with the bitter tang of burnt coffee. I'd taken the job out of desperation. My bank account a cruel reminder of the life I couldn't afford. Mia, my co-worker, had warned me about the night shift's weirdos. Drunks, addicts, lonely souls wandering in for a pack of smokes or a cheap thrill. Keep pepper spray handy, she'd said, laughing, but her eyes were serious. I laughed too, brushing it off, my confidence a thin shield against the unknown. I'd grown up in a rough neighborhood, dodging trouble with quick feet and sharp instincts. A convenience store at night didn't scare me. Not yet. I was scrolling through my phone, the screen's light a small comfort, when a cold gust brushed my face, sharp enough to jolt me upright. The door hadn't opened, the bell hadn't chimed, but the air shifted heavy with a rancid smell that made my nose crinkle. Rotten meat, sour and thick, like something left to fester. I looked up, my heart stuttering, and there he was, inches from the counter, his face hovering over mine. A man, pale as bone, his grin too wide, his eyes unblinking like he was watching a private joke unfold. I stumbled back, my apron catching on the register, my breath catching in my throat. He laughed, a childish giggle that didn't match the hollows under his eyes. "Sorry," he said, chuckling. "Didn't know how to wake you." My voice came out sharp, edged with annoyance to mask my fear. "You could have said something." He tilted his head, nodding slowly, his grin never fading. "Yeah, you're right." Something was off, a wrongness I couldn't name. He blinked too little. His smile lingered too long. His clothes tattered. A black backpack slung over one shoulder, sagging as if it held the weight of the world. His hands were pale, knuckles red and swollen, mud caked under his nails, a faint tremor in his fingers. The smell clung to him stronger now, a cloud of decay that made my stomach churn. "Buying anything?" I asked, my voice tight, trying to steer the moment back to normal. He drifted to the aisles, his steps slow, deliberate, like he had all the time in the world. I watched him through the security monitor, his silhouette weaving between shelves, pausing to stare at nothing. My hands trembled as I restocked gum, the plastic crinkling too loud in the silence. Mia's warning echoed in my mind, her voice a lifeline I clung to. I remembered our first shift together, laughing over stale donuts, her stories of night shift, oddballs easing my nerves. Now those stories felt like warnings I'd ignored. The man returned, placing a banana milkshake and a sandwich on the counter, his movements careful, almost reverent, like a child showing off a prize. I scanned the items, my fingers stiff, the beep of the register unnaturally loud. He spoke, his voice soft but piercing. "Do you ever think this place doesn't exist? Like we're in someone else's dream and nothing we do matters?" I froze, my hand hovering over the scanner, his words curling around my thoughts like smoke. "What?" I said, my voice barely audible. He smiled, his eyes dark pools that seemed to pull me in. "This sandwich smells like fear, like someone screamed when they made it." His words were nonsense, but they landed like stones, heavy with meaning I didn't want to understand. I handed him the total, my voice flat, my eyes avoiding his. He paid with crumpled bills, his fingers brushing mine cold as ice, sending a shiver down my spine. He shuffled to a corner table facing the wall, his back hunched like a gargoyle. He tore into the sandwich, eating with a hunger that made my skin crawl, crumbs clinging to his shirt. I tried to focus on restocking, my hands moving mechanically, but my eyes kept drifting to him. His backpack sat on the floor, its bottom dark, a wet stain spreading outward, unmistakable even in the dim light. At first, I thought it was soda, a spilled drink soaking through. But the smell hit me again, stronger, undeniable. Death, raw, and rancid, a stench that clawed at my throat. My mind screamed, "That's not soda." The stain was blood seeping from the bag, pooling faintly on the linoleum. My body locked, my breath shallow, my heart pounding so loud I feared he'd hear. His knuckles, red and raw, flashed in my mind, the mud under his nails now a sickening clue. I remembered a news report, a woman found dead downtown, her body mutilated, her killer still at large. He finished eating, standing slowly, his movements deliberate, the backpack heavy as he lifted it, the stain leaving a faint smear on the floor. I didn't want to look, but my eyes betrayed me, drawn to the blood, the proof of something unspeakable. He started for the door, each step a slow march, the automated doors hissing open, the cold air rushing in. He paused, half in shadow, and turned, his grin wider, brighter, a predator's satisfaction. "Hope she didn't keep you up," he said, his voice low, almost tender. "She wouldn't shut up all night." The words landed like a blade, sharp and final, his eyes locking with mine for a heartbeat before he stepped into the darkness. I stood frozen, the doors closing, the silence swallowing his footsteps. My hands shook as I grabbed my phone, dialing 911, my voice trembling as I spilled everything. The man, the bag, the blood, the smell, his chilling words. The dispatcher told me to stay calm, but calm was a distant memory, my mind a whirlwind of fear and disbelief. I locked the door, my fingers fumbling, the neon sign outside flickering like a dying star. Hours later, the police came, their questions relentless, their faces grim as they took my statement. 2 days after, I saw him on the news, arrested for murder. A street worker found mutilated in an alley, her head in his backpack, carried through multiple stores like a trophy. He was the man I'd served, the one whose grin still haunted my dreams. I quit the next day. The store's lights too harsh, its silence too loud. I haven't stepped into a 7-Eleven since, but the smell follows me, creeping into quiet moments, a reminder of the night I brushed against death. Sometimes when the wind shifts or a shadow moves too quickly, I feel his eyes, watching from the darkness, waiting for the next shift that never ends. The forest exhaled a damp breath, and I woke to the sound of something heavy dragging across the earth, a low moan weaving through the pines like a secret the night couldn't keep. My eyes snapped open, my heart hammering, the darkness of Camp Redwood Lake pressing against me. I lay on the cold ground, my head throbbing, the scent of wet moss and blood thick in my nose. The moan came again, faint but human, from a shape moving near the lake, a figure pulling a sack, its contents shifting. Alive, the trees whispered, urging me to run, but my body froze, caught in a dream where the lake itself was watching, waiting to swallow us whole. Brian and I had arrived at Camp Redwood Lake a week ago, two city kids drunk on the promise of summer. Freedom? The camp sprawled across a forested valley, its cabins weathered but warm, the air rich with pine and campfire smoke. We were 15, too old for ghost stories, but young enough to chase thrills, sneaking marshmallows and trading jokes with the girls across the lake. Mrs. Ritter, our counselor, had seemed kind, her smile wide as she passed out s'mores, her eyes crinkling with warmth. But sometimes, when she thought no one watched, her gaze lingered on Rosie, the assistant counselor, with a sharpness that chilled me. I'd overheard whispers from older campers, tales of a kid who'd vanished near the lake years ago, his flashlight found floating in the reeds. Brian laughed it off, but I felt the lake's pull, its surface too still, too knowing. That night, Brian's grin was all mischief, his eyes glinting under the cabin's dim bulb. "Let's see if Madison's still awake," he said, tugging on his sneakers. I smirked, the thrill of breaking rules sparking in my chest. Stay quiet, don't get caught. We slipped through the window, landing on pine needles, the air cool and heavy with humidity. The crickets sang, their rhythm steady, but as we crept toward the girls' cabin, the forest hushed, the silence a weight on my shoulders. The lake gleamed under the moon, its surface a black mirror reflecting nothing but stars. We stopped short, my breath catching. Near the water's edge, Mrs. Ritter moved, her silhouette sharp against the moonlight. She dragged a large burlap sack, its bulk scraping the dirt, leaving a trail of disturbed earth. A low moan rose from within, weak but alive, and my stomach lurched. Brian crouched beside me, his fingers digging into my arm, his face drained of color. "That's a person," he hissed, his voice trembling. The sack shifted, and a pale hand clawed through a tear, grasping at the air. Rosie's face emerged, streaked with mud and blood, her eyes wide with terror, gasping for breath. Mrs. Ritter's hand clamped over her mouth, forcing her down, Rosie's legs kicking weakly. "We have to help her," I whispered, my mouth dry. But Brian's grip tightened, holding me back. Rosie's eyes bulged, her nails scraping Mrs. Ritter's arm, her muffled cries swallowed by the night. "Do something, now." I grabbed a rock, its weight solid in my hand, and hurled it into the lake. The splash echoed, ripples spreading across the black water. Mrs. Ritter's head snapped up, her eyes scanning the trees, her face a mask of cold fury. Rosie collapsed, coughing, but alive, her body trembling in the mud. Mrs. Ritter's gaze found our hiding spot, a shadow flickering. In her eyes, and her voice slithered through the air, calm but deadly. "You shouldn't be here, boys." We ran, branches whipping our faces, the forest a tangle of roots and shadows. Mrs. Ritter's footsteps pounded behind us, relentless, her breath ragged but purposeful. "Keep moving," Brian yelled, but his foot caught a root and he fell, his cry sharp. I turned, my heart racing as Mrs. Ritter loomed over him. A rock raised in her hand. It swung down. Blood blooming dark on his scalp, and he crumpled, motionless. I froze, my legs lead, but she was on me, her fist slamming into my skull. The world spun, darkness swallowing me. The lake's whisper, the last thing I heard. I woke, to pain, my wrists burning, bound with coarse rope. The air was thick with earth and blood, the forest floor cold beneath me. Brian knelt opposite, his hair matted with blood, his eyes glassy but open, his breath shallow. Mrs. Ritter stood nearby, digging, her shovel biting the dirt with steady rhythm, her humming soft, almost tender, like a lullaby for the dead. "You didn't have to see this," she said, not looking up, her voice conversational. "Rosie brought it on herself. She seduced my husband, took everything I gave her, a job, a home, and threw it in my face." Her eyes met mine, wild and bloodshot, her face twisted with rage. "I couldn't let her live, Stephen, and now you've seen too much." She knelt, a rusty knife glinting in her hand, its blade grazing my cheek, warm blood trickling down my face. "Fight. You have to fight." My fingers brushed something cold in the dirt, Brian's pocket knife half buried where he'd fallen. "Please," I whimpered, inching toward it, my voice shaking. "I don't want to die." Her smile was pitying, her knife steady. "It'll be quick, sweetheart." My hand closed around the knife, my blade slicing the rope, the burn igniting my resolve. I lunged, tackling her, the knife skittering away. We hit the ground, her scream piercing, but I slammed her face into the dirt, stunning her. "Run!" I shouted, cutting Brian's bonds. We staggered through the woods, branches clawing our skin, our breaths ragged. Mrs. Ritter's howl echoed behind us, her footsteps closing in, a predator unleashed. The lights of Mr. Blake's cabin flickered ahead, a beacon in the dark, but she grabbed Brian's ankle, yanking him down. I spun, grabbing a metal lantern from the porch, swinging it with all my strength. It smashed into her face, glass shattering, blood pouring from her cheek. Her cry cut short as Mr. Blake burst out, his eyes wide, tackling her thrashing body to the ground. Dawn broke, gray and heavy, as paramedics swarmed the camp. Rosie survived, her throat bruised, her breaths labored, but alive. She reached for my hand, her voice a whisper. "You saved me." Brian and I sat wrapped in blankets, our hands trembling, the lake's surface calm now, hiding its secrets. Mrs. Ritter was gone, cuffed and silent, her eyes empty as they hauled her away. The police found her husband's letters in her cabin, proof of her jealousy, her unraveling. But the forest didn't forget, its whispers lingering in my ears. Months later, I found a photo in my backpack, a Polaroid of Rosie by the lake, her smile bright, taken before that night. The back was scrawled with words not mine. "The lake sees all." The air grew cold, the scent of pine and blood faint but unmistakable. I don't go near water anymore, but some nights I hear the drag of a sack, and the lake's voice calls my name, waiting for me to return. The gravel crunches under our tires, the sound sharp in the dusk as Mark pulls into the driveway of the Airbnb cottage. It's a quaint, weathered thing, nestled in a hollow of gnarled oaks, its windows dark, its roof sagging like a tired sigh. "We're here to save our marriage," Mark said, his voice hopeful in a way I haven't heard since the miscarriage last year. I'm silent, my hand resting on the passenger window, the glass cool against my palm. But a prickle stirs in my chest, a warning I can't name. The air smells of damp earth and decay, like flowers left too long in a vase. The old caretaker, her face carved with wrinkles, meets us at the door, her eyes avoiding mine as she presses a key into my hand. "Don't touch what isn't yours," she says, her nails digging into my skin, her voice low. "Something in this house. It likes being alone." I glance at the shadowed interior, and the prickle blooms into dread, a dreamlike haze settling. "For me?" Mark unloads our bags, his optimism a fragile shield against the cottage's gloom. The interior is cold, the wooden floors creaking underfoot, the air thick with musty sweetness like rot masked by time. The living room is sparse, a sagging couch, a fireplace choked with ash, but it's the bedroom that stops me. In the corner, an ancient cradle sits, its dark oak polished to a sheen, its presence heavy like a spider waiting to strike. "Weird decoration," Mark mutters, dropping our bags, but I can't look away. The cradle feels alive, its curves too deliberate, its stillness too watchful. I nod, my throat dry, the room's shadows lengthening as dusk fades to night. "Stay calm, Lena. It's just a house." We settle in, the fireplace crackling, wine glasses clinking as Mark talks of rebuilding, his words a lifeline I want to grasp. But the cottage hums, a low vibration beneath the floor, like a heartbeat stirring. I sip my wine, its bitterness sharp, and try to focus on Mark's voice, but the cradle's image lingers, its wood gleaming in my mind. Night falls. The windows, black mirrors, and we climb into bed, the mattress sagging, the sheets cold. Mark's breathing slows, heavy and steady, but I lie awake, the darkness pressing against my chest. Then I hear it. A second breath, raspy, wet, coming from the corner. My body stiffens, my eyes straining in the dark. The cradle shifts, a soft creak, then another, its rhythm deliberate, like a lullaby from a forgotten throat. Moonlight slices through the curtains, catching the cradle's edge, and it rocks, empty but moving. Its motion a silent scream. I clutch the sheets, my heart pounding, my mind grasping for logic. Uneven floors, a draft, too much wine. But the creaking quickens, insistent, and the air grows colder, the musty sweetness sharper, like decay seeping from the walls. The cradle stops, abrupt and final, as if it knows I'm watching, resenting my gaze. "Get up, Lena. Check it." I slide from bed, my feet icy on the floor, and creep toward it, my breath shallow. The wood is warm under my fingers, unnaturally so, and I trace its curves, my hand trembling. Then I feel them, scratches, fresh and deep, gouged into the oak like claw marks, sticky with something warm like blood. I gasp, stumbling back, the room tilting, the shadows alive with whispers I can't hear. Morning dawns gray and heavy, but the cradle's stillness feels mocking, its scratches gleaming in the light. Mark notices my unease, his brow furrowing. "You were mumbling in your sleep," he says, pouring coffee, its bitter scent grounding me. Something like, "It's empty," but it's not. I force a smile, my hands shaking, and avoid. The bedroom, busying myself with dishes, the clink of plates a fragile anchor. Mark hikes that afternoon, his boots crunching outside, leaving me alone. The cottage hums again, the vibration stronger, pulling me back to the cradle. I kneel beside it, my fingers brushing the scratches, their edges raw, like wounds. The air shifts, a cold breath grazing my neck, and I freeze, my pulse a drumbeat in my ears. "Leave it, Lena. Now." Night falls. The fire's glow casting flickering shadows, our wine glasses empty. We talk of the baby we lost, the pain a shared wound. But a sound shatters the moment, a high-pitched cry, unmistakable, impossible. piercing from the bedroom. Mark's face drains of color, his glass trembling. "You heard that?" he whispers, his voice cracking. The cry grows desperate, wet gurgles between wails like a child drowning in tears. We creep toward the sound, the floor creaking, the air thick with dread. The bedroom door swings open, unbidden, its hinges silent. Inside, the cradle is empty, but the crying fills the room, a poisonous fog wrapping around us. Then it stops, the silence deafening, and laughter begins. Soft, childlike, building to a scream that morphs into words. "Mommy, Daddy, play with me." The lights die, plunging us into darkness. The fireplace's glow snuffed out. Something brushes my leg, small cold fingers grasping, and I scream, my voice raw. Mark's cry is primal, his hand finding mine, his grip bruising. We stumble through the dark, crashing into furniture. The cottage a maze of shadows. The front door won't budge, its lock unyielding, the windows sealed tight. The back door, Mark hisses, pulling me through the kitchen, the floor slick underfoot. Behind us, something drags, slow and deliberate, tiny nails scraping the wood. "Mommy," a whisper hisses, my breath hitching. "Don't leave me alone again. I'm scared. Take me with you." The voice is inches from my ear, cold and pleading, and I choke back a sob, my heart threatening to burst. Mark slams against the back door, once, twice, the wood groaning. On the third try it splinters, night air rushing in, burning my lungs. We burst outside, branches whipping our faces, the ground uneven underfoot. The cottage pulses behind us, its windows glowing sickly yellow, a living thing enraged. Mark yanks open the car, fumbling with keys, the engine sputtering, defiant. I glance back, my blood chilling. The upstairs window, a small figure stands, its smile splitting its face unnaturally wide, its hands pressed against the glass, mouthing, "I'll find you." The engine roars, tires spitting gravel as we tear away, the cottage shrinking in the rear view, its glow a fading threat. We drive in silence, the night a black shroud, our breaths ragged. A week later, I can't stop thinking of the cradle. It scratches, that voice. I scour the internet, my hands trembling until I find it. A newspaper clipping, 30 years old, buried in an archive. The cottage's owner left her infant alone. Days without food, locked in that cradle. When they found him, he was dead, starved, his tiny body cold. The mother vanished, but her diary remained, its pages scrawled with despair. Her illegitimate child had ruined her life. The final entry chills me. He won't be alone. I'll send him someone to play with until I return. I weep, showing Mark, his face pale, his voice hollow. "Put it behind us," he says, but his eyes betray fear. The cottage is gone from our lives, but not from my dreams. Where that cradle rocks, its whispers calling, "Come back, Mommy." I check the locks each night, knowing some doors never stay closed. The house gleamed like a lie, its glass walls promising warmth but delivering only cold. I stood on the polished porch, my backpack heavy with textbooks I couldn't afford, my breath visible in the crisp evening air. The Carter's mansion loomed. Above, a fortress of sharp angles and sterile surfaces, its hilltop perch isolating it from the world below. I was Fiona, a college student drowning in tuition debts, and this babysitting job, triple my usual rate, was a lifeline I couldn't refuse. But as I rang the bell, its chime echoing like a warning through the vast foyer, I felt the house's gaze, unblinking and predatory, as if it knew I'd stepped into a trap. Mrs. Carter opened the door, her diamond earrings glinting, her smile thin and practiced, never reaching her eyes. "Emma's ready for bed," she said, tossing her purse over her shoulder, her voice clipped, dismissive. Mr. Carter stood behind, jingling car keys, his face a mask of polite disinterest. "We'll be back by midnight," Mrs. Carter added, her tone suggesting I was an afterthought. They left without a glance, their car's tail lights fading into the dusk, leaving me alone in a house that felt more like a gallery than a home. The air inside was sterile, scented with lavender candles that couldn't mask the underlying chill. The walls held modern art, all jagged lines and muted colors, reflecting nothing but emptiness. I dropped my bag by the leather couch, its surface cold against my fingers, and tried to shake the unease creeping up my spine. Emma was upstairs, a 9-year-old with perfect blonde hair and eyes too sharp for a child, sitting on her bed in a blue nightgown, clutching a stuffed bunny. Her room was pristine, toys arranged with unsettling precision, as if no one had ever played here. "Hi, Emma," I said, forcing a smile, my voice bright despite the knot in my stomach. "I'm Fiona." She didn't smile back, her gaze piercing, her head tilting slightly. "You shouldn't have come," she said, her voice flat, her words landing like stones in still water. I laughed, more to calm myself than her, thinking it was a child's game. "Well, I'm here now. Want to show me around?" She shrugged, her eyes never leaving mine. "What's the point? You'll be dead soon anyway." My breath caught, a cold wave washing over me, her words too precise, too deliberate for a joke. I brushed it off, my heart pounding, and led her downstairs for dinner. The kitchen was sleek, all stainless steel and marble, its cold surfaces reflecting the chandelier's dim glow. I heated up leftovers, the microwave's hum a frail shield against the silence. Emma sat across the table, her plate untouched, her eyes fixed on me, unblinking, her fork scraping the porcelain in a slow, grating rhythm. "What's your favorite subject?" I asked, my voice strained, trying to break the tension. "Psychology," she said, her voice soft but sharp. "I like studying how minds break." My fork paused mid-air, my throat tightening. "That's mature," I said, forcing a smile. She pushed her peas around, her gaze darkening. "That's what the others said before they left." The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning I didn't want to grasp. After dinner, Emma brushed her teeth, her nightgown slipping to reveal a network of thin, jagged scars snaking up her arms. Red and raw, like fresh wounds, my stomach twisted, a sick lurch that stole my breath. "What happened?" I asked, my voice soft, genuine concern breaking through my fear. She glanced down, her expression casual, chilling. "I did it," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "To practice, for when I do it to you." My skin crawled, my hands trembling as I led her to bed, her words echoing in my mind. I remembered my own childhood, babysitting neighbors' kids, their giggles a balm to my lonely days. Emma was different, her innocence a mask, her threats a promise I couldn't ignore. I tucked her in, my hand brushing against something under her pillow, a journal, its cover worn, its pages thick with secrets. I snatched it, my fingers shaking as I flipped through the dim lamplight casting shadows on the walls. The pages were filled with drawings, stick figures wielding knives, red crayon smeared like blood across every surface. One stopped me cold, a crude caricature of me, my head severed, crimson dripping from the neck, my name scrawled in childish letters. My heart raced, a drumbeat of panic, the room's silence pressing against me. I needed answers, needed to know if this was a game or something worse. The basement called, its locked door a challenge I couldn't ignore. I crept downstairs, the house's stillness suffocating, each step amplifying the thudding in my chest. The basement door was heavy, its brass knob cold, unyielding. I'd picked locks before, sneaking into my father's office as a kid to find hidden Christmas gifts. I used a bobby pin, my hands slick with sweat, the lock resisting until it gave way with a soft click. The basement was sparse, its concrete floor cold, its air thick with dust and something sour. A patch of carpet seemed newer. Out of place, and under a workbench I found a small box. Its wood splintered, its contents a nightmare. Inside were IDs, credit cards, and a missing persons flyer with a young woman's face. A babysitter, gone 3 months ago. Her smile hauntingly familiar. My breath caught, my hands trembling as I realized the Carter's secret. A shadow moved behind me, small but deliberate. I turned, my heart stopping as Emma stood in the doorway. A butcher, knife gleaming in her hand, her nightgown ghostly in the dim light. "I told you," she said, her voice soft, her grin wide and feral. "No one listens." I backed away, my sneakers slipping on the concrete, my mind screaming to run. She stepped closer, her movements slow, deliberate, like a predator savoring the chase. I pushed past her, sprinting upstairs, my legs burning, the knife's glint a constant threat. The front door wouldn't budge, its lock mocking my panic. "Stop running," Emma said, following me, her voice calm, chilling. "You'll be happy, my parents will make sure." I ran to the kitchen, my hands fumbling for the landline, but Emma's voice cut through. "They disconnect it when they leave," she said, swinging the knife, its blade catching the light. I backed away, my heart pounding, my eyes darting for an escape. "Emma, you're sick," I said, my voice trembling. "Your parents are wrong." She tilted her head, her grin widening. "We do this every few months, trap someone disposable. See how long they last." The words landed like a blade, sharp and final, her eyes glinting with glee. A car pulled into the driveway, headlights slicing through the windows, Mr. and Mrs. Carter returning. "Me, Daddy, Mommy," Emma whispered, her voice a chant. "Daddy didn't stop me, said we protect the family name." I bolted for the bathroom, locking the flimsy door, my breath ragged. The handle rattled, Emma's giggle echoing outside. "She's in there, Daddy. Get her." I climbed through the small window, my body scraping against the frame, tumbling onto the lawn, blood soaking my sleeve from a cut I hadn't felt. I ran, my legs aching, the road a distant promise of safety. The Carter's porch light flicked on, their silhouettes looming, but I didn't look back. I flagged a cab, my voice trembling as I made an anonymous 911 call, reporting the Carters, praying justice would follow. But deep down, I knew their wealth was a shield, their power a shadow I couldn't outrun. I live differently now, my apartment locked tight, my knife always close. The Carters haven't been arrested, their mansion still gleaming, their secrets buried deep. Emma's grin haunts me, her voice whispering in quiet moments, a reminder of the night I played her game and survived. The house was supposed to be a job, a chance to breathe, but it became a cage, and I'll never trust a child's smile again. The darkness of the Karovic house clung to me like damp cloth, and I woke to a shadow at my bedside. Anna, her pale face hovering, her lips mouthing my name, Amamira, in a voice that wasn't hers. I gasped, my heart lurching, but the room was empty, the air thick with the scent of herbs and decay, the silence broken only by a faint chant drifting from below. My skin prickled, the dream too vivid, too real, and I knew this village, this house, was no sanctuary. Anna's eyes lingered in my mind, not a child's, but something older, hungrier, whispering that I'd never leave. I'd come to this remote village through a cultural exchange, seeking escape from a life that felt hollow, a chance to find myself in the unknown. The bus dropped me in a nowhere place, its brakes hissing as it left me with Milena and Goran Karovic, their smiles too wide, their daughter Anna too still, her dark eyes scanning me like a predator. Melena's voice, thick with an accent, wrapped around my name. Welcome, Amamira. But her warmth was hollow, her gaze piercing. The house loomed behind them, its wood weathered, its windows dark. No mirrors or clocks to mark time, only the heavy scent of herbs masking something fouler, like meat left to rot. Dinner was a tense ritual, the table groaning under heavy dishes, the food dense and unfamiliar, sitting like stone in my stomach. Goran's fingers tapped relentlessly, his eyes avoiding mine while Melena watched me, her smile fixed, her questions probing, where I'd come from, why I'd chosen their village. Anna sat silent, her frail frame hunched, her gaze locked on me unblinking, her presence a chill down my spine. Sleep well, Melena said, pressing a cup of tea into my hands, its bitterness lingering on my tongue. I drank, my eyelids heavy, the room blurring, but unease kept me tethered, a warning I couldn't name. That night the chant woke me, low and guttural, rising like a tide through the floorboards. I crept to my door, my pulse hammering, and peered through the keyhole. Candlelight flickered in the hall, casting jagged shadows, and I saw them, Melena and Goran circling Anna, her small body rigid, their hands forcing a dark liquid down her throat. Their voices wove a strange tongue, ancient and urgent, the air thick with intent. I stifled a cough, my breath catching, and their heads snapped toward my door, their eyes glinting like wolves. I froze, my lungs burning, until the chant resumed, slow and deliberate, pulling me back to bed, the tea's weight dragging me under. Morning dawned, the house deceptively normal, Melena humming as she fried bread, Goran reading a tattered book, Anna nowhere in sight. They took me to the village, its streets eerily empty, shutters drawn, no children playing, no dogs barking, only the crunch of gravel underfoot. The air was stale, the silence oppressive, broken by distant whispers I couldn't place. Quiet today, Melena said, her smile tight, but her eyes followed me, sharp and unyielding. Back at the house, I searched for answers, my hands trembling as I rifled through drawers. In a stuck nightstand, I found them, photos of young travelers like me, their smiles bright at first, then fading, their faces melting like wet paint. The last was Melena, her eyes black, the words scrawled below. She carries us all. My breath stopped, the room spinning, the photos a scream in my hands. Get out! Now! I told Goran I had to leave early, my voice shaking, but his grin widened, slippery and wrong. Sleep early, wake early, he said, his eyes glinting. I lay awake, the chant returning, louder, pulling me like a current. In my dream, Anna stood over me, her eyes glowing, her voice a hiss. You're next. I woke choking, my sheets damp, small muddy handprints staining the fabric. My phone glitched, a selfie flashing, my face but half melted, a second mouth stretching. Beside mine, an eye blinking above my cheek. I dropped it, the image gone, but the chant grew, a pulse in my bones. I followed it barefoot, the cold floor biting my soles, the air thick with herbs and rot. Outside, behind the barn, torches blazed in a stone circle, the villagers silent, their faces shadowed, their eyes fixed on Anna in the center, her body limp, her gaze empty. Melena's voice rose, pointing at me. Her youth is strong. She can carry too. Hands grabbed me, their grip iron, dragging me into the circle. Goran smeared ash and bone on my forehead, his breath hot against my ear. One gives, one takes, one stays. The world tilted, my limbs leaden, my vision doubling. Anna's face swam before me and I felt her. Inside me, a second heartbeat, a whisper in my skull. Let go. Be one. But her tears were real, streaming down her pale cheeks, her eyes pleading, terrified. She doesn't want this. The realization ignited me, and I lunged, knocking over the fire bowl, embers exploding in a shower of sparks. Screams tore. The night as I ran, branches clawing my skin, the villagers' howls chasing me. "You must carry us," Milena shrieked, her voice a blade in the dark. Headlights cut through the trees, a postal van lurching into view. I stumbled onto the road, my ankles screaming, collapsing against the door. "Help me," I sobbed, my breath ragged. The driver's eyes widened, but he pulled me in, the van roaring away, the village fading into the dawn. I woke in a hospital days later, my body bruised, my mind fractured. The police took my statement, their faces skeptical, their shrugs heavy. No Karovic family here. They moved years ago. But I knew what I'd seen, what I'd felt. My phone, recovered, held one photo. A blurry selfie, my face half merged with Anna's. Her eyes black, her smile cruel. I deleted it, but the chant lingers, faint but relentless, in my dreams. Some mornings I wake to ash on my floor, the scent of herbs and rot clinging to my skin. And when I look in the mirror too long, something looks back. Not me, but her, waiting to carry me away. The soccer field buzzes with cheers. The crowds roar, a living pulse under the spring sun. I'm Amber, perched on the bleachers, my hair catching the breeze, laughing with Caitlin and Maya as our team scores. It's a perfect day, the kind that feels like it'll last forever, until Colin steps onto the field, his quiet presence jarring against the noise. He's the chemistry kid, always lurking in corners, his eyes too intense, his words too few. I barely know him, maybe 10 sentences traded over lab beakers, but now he's holding a sign, its glitter sparkling. Amber, prom, with me. The crowd hushes, eyes on me, and my stomach twists, a prickle of dread I can't name. "I barely know you," I blurt, my voice carrying, sharp and final. His face crumples, the sign drooping, and he walks away, shoulders hunched, the crowd's laughter. Cruel echo. My cheeks burn, but I laugh too, the moment slipping away like a bad dream. I didn't know it was the start of a nightmare. The field fades, the cheers a distant hum, but Colin's eyes linger in my mind, hurt and dark, a shadow I can't shake. I push it down, focusing on prom plans. Red dress, silver heels, a night. To forget the grind of senior year. But a week later, the first note appears, folded neatly in my calculus textbook, its edges crisp. "See you at prom. I'll be ready." The handwriting is jagged, unfamiliar, and my heart stumbles. The classroom's chatter fading to a dull roar. I show it to Caitlin and Maya at lunch, their faces freezing before Caitlin snorts. Some loser being weird. Maya shrugs, her eyes uneasy, but the note's weight clings, a cold stone in my pocket. "Stay calm, Amber. It's a prank." I toss it in the trash, but the words loop in my head, a whisper I can't silence. The days blur, prom's glittery promise dimming as unease grows. Texts arrive, simultaneous pings on our phones during history class, Mr. Harrison's glare ignored. Pretty girls always dance before they fall. The words chill me, their source a blocked number, untraceable. We report it, and the school halls. Colin in, his face blank, his denial steady. Jordan from student council whispers later. He just sat there, no proof it was him. The notes don't stop slipping into my locker, my backpack, taped to my car's windshield. Wear red. It hides blood best. Each one tightens the knot in my gut, my sleep fractured. My room a fortress of locked doors and drawn blinds. I feel eyes everywhere. Hallways, parking lots, my bedroom window at night. their gaze a violation I can't prove. 2 days before prom, Caitlin calls, sobbing, her tires slashed in the school lot, rubber ribbons under the dusk. That evening, Maya finds her prom dress shredded, its silk scattered like rose petals across her bed. "It's Colin," she whispers, her voice trembling. "He's lost it." I stop sleeping, checking under my bed like a child, my parents dismissing my fears. "School drama, Amber," Mom says, her smile thin. "It'll pass." But it escalates. The notes relentless, the texts multiplying, their tone sharper, more intimate. "You'll look perfect when you break." The school adds cameras, extra guards for prom. But the air feels heavy like a storm waiting to burst. "Stay sharp, Amber. Don't let it win." Prom night arrives, the gym transformed, twinkling lights and tulle a fairy tale facade. I'm in my red dress, heels pinching, Caitlin and Maya at my side, their smiles forced. The first hour is smooth, music pulsing, bodies swaying, but we scan the crowd, nerves taut. Colin's absent, a relief that lets me breathe. My dance with Maya, a fleeting escape. Then the fire alarms scream, lights cutting out, plunging the gym into darkness. Fog machines roar, pumping thick mist that stings my eyes, burns my throat. Panic erupts, screams echoing, bodies shoving toward the exits. Someone grabs my wrist and I twist, shouting, until Maya's face flashes in the strobe. "We need out!" she yells, her voice raw. Firecrackers explode under tables, their pops like gunshots, sparking chaos. I'm pinned against the wall, the crowd a suffocating wave, when something wet hits my arm. Red paint, splattering, dripping down the wall in letters. It was never about the dance. My lungs seize, terror clawing my chest. The paint's metallic, scent choking me. Hands pull me outside, the night air sharp, blue lights flashing. Parents' cries, a desperate chorus. Whispers ripple. Colin's innocent, streaming games all night, his alibi airtight. If not him, then who? 2 days later, the truth surfaces. A mask in the girls' locker room, Maya's destroyed phone, a burner SIM traced to Janelle, Colin's freshman sister. I'd barely noticed her. A shy girl eating alone in the library, her eyes always downcast. They arrest her at home, her bedroom a shrine of madness. Newspaper clippings, photos of us with eyes scratched out. My name circled in red on a whiteboard, over and over. She giggles as they cuff her, her voice calm. "They hurt my brother, and thought they'd walk away," she tells the cops, her smile chilling. She's sent to a psychiatric facility, her laughter echoing in reports. I try to move on, prom a fading bruise, but the world feels different, its edges sharper. This morning I open my locker, my hands steady, expecting nothing. A note waits, folded neatly, its edges crisp. "You never danced, so I guess you can keep your legs." My breath catches, the hallway spinning, the chatter fading to a roar. Janelle's, locked away, her hands restrained, her threats silenced. It can't be her. I clutch the note, my fingers trembling. The papers wait a new anchor. I tell no one, my voice trapped, knowing they won't believe me. My room blazes with light now, every shadow a threat, every creak her giggle. Someone's watching, their eyes a constant prickle, and I'm not sure I'll ever dance again.